Fear Zone channel, your horror channel. And now, let's go to today's story, which is the young Kyo, and this story happened to him in the city of Divinopolis, which is in the state of Minas Gerais, and at that time, which was in the year 2013, the young Kyo was still a teenager. And it all starts like this. I live with my family in a village, which is in the rural part of the city, and near my house, there are also small farms nearby. At that time I was a teenager, and I had an older brother who was 15 years old, and we lived a quiet and normal life, and I also had 2 dogs in my house, which was a farm, where we raised some chickens. But, what happened at night, when I was sleeping in my room, I heard the howling of some animal near my house, and I woke up scared, because it was a very scary sound. At that moment my dog started barking, so I looked at my brother, but he was still sleeping in his bed, so I got out of bed and went to see through the window who made that howl. When I looked out the window, I was startled, for a huge dog was walking near the fence of my residence, but it kept walking and disappeared into the bushes. And thinking further, what I had seen was actually a very strange and scary animal with a dark fur. I was not sure what it was, and as it was very dark at that early hour, to me it was just an animal. Anyway, I went back to sleep without worrying, but then about 15 minutes passed, and I heard my dogs fighting with something in my yard, and I thought it could only be that animal that was prowling around my residence, and my dogs seemed to be getting a beating from that animal, since they were screaming as if they were getting a beating from another dog. With all that noise, my family woke up, and I quickly looked out the window to see what was going on, and I saw my dogs rolling on the ground and fighting with that strange beast. I soon turned on the lights in the backyard of the house, and with how clear our yard was, that beast was confused and kind of scared and ran to the back of our farm. My father said that his rifle was broken, so he got a wooden handle, and then we went out together to our backyard to see if the invading beast was still around. We saw our 2 dogs barking in the back of the house, where it was a very dark place, and we started walking there slowly, and after we got to this back part of our house, we saw a strange thing happening, because that invading beast was already passing by the bedroom window of our house, where my mother was sleeping. The fact is that this beast had already passed almost half of its body through the window. At that moment desperation took over us, because my mother could be in that room. My father was fast, because he grabbed the legs of this beast and started to pull the creature back, so that it wouldn't enter through the window. But as the creature wanted to enter by any means into my house, my father started to give several sticks on the back of this beast. At that moment this animal started to growl in pain, and it gave a huge fear at the sound of this strange beast. But at that moment my father managed to take that beast out of the window and knock it to the floor of the yard in front of us, and watch that beast fall to the ground. But to our surprise, that beast quickly got up from the ground and stood up like a man, balancing on only 2 legs, and looked with a hateful face at my father because he was holding the wooden handle in his hands. And to me this beast was a werewolf, because he also looked half man and half beast. However, this creature was a little stunned, and he stood up with difficulty, yet this werewolf started to attack my father, and that's when my brother appeared in the yard together with my mother, and we started to throw several stones at this werewolf. I threw a big brick and it hit the werewolf right in the face, and with this blow, the creature fell on the ground rolling, but then it got on all 4s and started to run away. And this monster jumped over a bamboo fence that was near our yard and ran away to the vacant lot next to our farm. We quickly went back to our house and closed all the doors and windows, and we were very scared because we thought that the werewolf might be around, and the werewolf didn't like to be beaten, and maybe he was trying to come back to get revenge on us. After a few minutes, our dogs were still barking, and I was scared, and I kept looking everywhere in the bushes, but I didn't see the werewolf. But what happened, to our luck and peace of mind, was that after about an hour, suddenly the police arrived in front of our house, and they said that someone had called them and warned them that our residence was being invaded. The fact is, my father explained to the military everything that had happened, that it was a dangerous beast that had done all this. The police didn't believe much in this werewolf story, and after that, the guards left to search for any suspects that dawned. Well, I didn't go back to sleep, not to be fooled. I was afraid of the werewolf coming back at any moment. I kept looking out the window, but I saw the police car passing a few times through the streets near my house, and they thought it was a man who had entered our house, and not a werewolf. As the hours passed, the day dawned and I didn't see those policemen anymore. Although I was still afraid of everything we had been through with that beast, fortunately nothing happened to my family with the attack of that werewolf on our farm, and since it was daytime I was very calm, but I didn't go to school either. Well, in the afternoon, a police car arrived at my residence, and they took my father to the police station, but when the evening came, he returned to our house, and we asked what happened, that the police took him to the police station. My father said that he was called to the police station to identify a subject who had his face all bruised, and the policeman asked if it was that man who had entered our house. Of course my father didn't recognize him, and the policeman told my father that the subject detained was caught the same day of the creature's invasion in our residence. The officers told my father that the way he wrote it on the police report, this male suspect had the same bruises. The officers forced my father to accuse the detained man, but it was no use, because he said he never saw that suspect. The police officers said that this guy was not from our town, and that he had been living in our area for a few months, but anyway, they released this suspect from custody at the police station, and my father returned to our home. With everything that happened, my father packed up his broken shotgun, and even so we spent a few frightened days in our home, especially when it got dark, because we thought that the werewolf might come back for revenge, and we even left the lights on in the backyard during the night. Time went by, and my family went back to normal life, and even today, I stay smart at night and avoid walking on foot through my neighborhood because it is very dark at late hours. But apart from all this, relating the apparition of the werewolf in my house and the man all bruised that my father saw at the police station, for sure this guy was the one that turned into this werewolf that took a beating from my family. And this werewolf story, I will never forget. Good night. Well guys, thanks for watching the video, and if you like the story, like and subscribe to our channel to receive more horror stories.